Thank you, John. I'll be brief, because there is a long session this afternoon where a lot of these things will be covered in greater detail. Let me begin by saying that, you know, at Microsoft, I look after engaging with entrepreneurs all around the world. And the topic of my talk and introductory remarks today really are focused on living in a digital world. And so there's a juxtaposition between the digital world and real life in the sense that we are not digital, but we live in a world that is surrounded by digital evolution. I'd like to point out a couple of things as well. Within the context of the world that we live, the microprocessor is about halfway through its impact on our lives, in my opinion. The first focus of the microprocessor was on building machines that would automate rational tasks, moving words, moving text, moving pictures, calculating numbers. We're moving rapidly into a world where the life that we live is surrounded by devices that are connected to the internet. You've heard a little bit about that relative to mobile phones. All devices, things will be connected to the internet in many different ways, shapes, and forms, and they will all generate and produce massive amounts of data that will then be mapped according to their uses in our everyday lives. So there are aspects in modern computing which you can see on the slide, and I won't cover them all in any length now, but I will later on in the breakout session. The cornerstone of this is really the end game in the last quadrant on the lower right of the slide, which is machine learning. We're reaching a stage where massive amounts of information will be considered by massively operating systems in the cloud. And there are many different ways to approach this and many different sort of nascent attempts at machine learning. But we are very rapidly moving into a stage where these large cloud-based systems will be attacking massive amounts of data on behalf of us in our everyday lives. And so effectively, we will be mapping a new geography of location-based services. And the inventions, some of which were just discussed in the nanotechnology section, the inventions will evolve very, very rapidly. I think it's fitting to maybe make a comment about the difference between evolution and revolution. Revolutionary things at the inventive level are happening all the time, and nanotechnology is one of those cornerstones. But it's the evolution, the rapid crowding of information, whether it's people in major metropolitan areas that are creating these diverse new economic opportunities, starting new companies. So these startup ecosystems in places like Moscow or Singapore or Berlin, they're happening all around the world because diverse communities of people are coming together, applying the current use of microprocessor technology. If I could move forward. What you'll see in the coming generation, I'll look for the next slide now, that was the maneuver, the gesture that we were looking for earlier on. There are many opportunities that present themselves, but most importantly, there are challenges to be considered. And so I personally come at this phenomenon with a belief as an opportunist that the technology can be used for greater good. But there's always a downside to revolutionary new technical breakthroughs. I think one of John's co-founders at Sun, Bill Joy, wrote an article some 10 years ago sort of suggesting the fundamental promise of technology, which is just because we can, should we? There are political systems that will need to be rebuilt. We'll be living in a world that is fully connected. The next generation of entrepreneurs will live in a borderless society. The digital domain, the political realms within which the data lives, the security and privacy issues will have to become one on a global basis. The implications of these always-on, real-time connected systems, this Internet of Things, these devices that will be connected and emanating data, will really be putting us in a position to find new people with new talents, the next generation of data scientists who are driving these machine learning architectures will challenge the frontiers of the political realm that bind us together today, both with physical borders but also structural and operational borders. So the challenge, which we'll discuss more in the breakout session, and I'll move on now and leave it for the next speaker, the challenges we'll discuss will really be ones to be considered in the combination of us, physical humans living in a digital world surrounded by information that is presented by these massively parallel architectures, presenting us with new ways of living in the world because the information that being presented to us is ever present, always on, and real time. So John, thank you, and we'll look forward to the breakout session a little bit later. Thanks so much.